I guess just, the seeing him every day, seeing all the abuse, and seeing that nothing was done, and then in the end, the kids having to know that he actually died. And they even saw all the abuse the whole time. They saw him go from, no abuse, looking normal, playing on the playground with him, to seeing him come in with bruises and his hair messed up, and then in the end, that he's dead. I mean, they were shocked. I was shocked.
We've learned through testimony that Gabriel had been with his grandmother and then went to live with his mother, Pearl Fernandez, and the defendant is our Aguirre, who has been convicted now of guilty of the torture and murder of little Gabriel. So you saw this transition in your classroom.
Yes. It was hard to watch, and then when it gets to the end, I didn't see that was going to be the outcome. I knew he was being abused, and I knew it was getting progressively worse, but I did not ever foresee that they were going to murder him.
You tell about the moment you found out what had happened.
The principal called me in after school, and there was someone from the district office, and they informed me that. I said, "Is it about Gabriel?" And they said, "Yeah, he's been tortured." He said it very gruesomely. He was tortured and murdered, and he's dead. And I just felt numb. I didn't know what to do or where to go from there.
And then what has to be the most difficult thing a teacher would ever have to do, you had to go back into that classroom, which you did the next day.
Yes, I had to go back and I had to look at the kids, and I figured they're going to see stuff on the news and hear it I'd rather them hear it from me. So I just told them, Gabriel died. And I remember they were sitting on the carpet and all their little faces looking at me, just shocked. How? And they want to know details. That's just how kids are. And I said, I'm not going to tell you that. They just hurt him really bad. And they're like, who? And I said, his mom. And they were just shocked, and I didn't want them scared to look at their own mom and think, what if she does that to me, And so I just explained to them there's, good parents and bad parents, just like there's good guys and bad guys in the world, and some parents are not good. And it was hard to see them try to grasp that. It's not something I would want a kid to ever hear or have to understand.
Did that impact them? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I'm in contact actually with one of the kids' parents still through social media, and he's in 6th grade now, which is what Gabriel would be in. He says he remembers that, and I'm sure they're impacted. I know that other students I've had, they didn't forget it. It makes them sad. I don't think I think they'll be okay in life, but I think it is something that they think about and they just remember it.
What's the hardest thing for you now?
I carry a tremendous amount of guilt. I ask myself constantly what if questions when I drive to work. I have a little bit of a commute. I find myself going, what if I said this? What if I asked this? What if I got him to confide a little more of the stuff I didn't know? Would the outcome have been different? And then I do the whys. Why didn't they ask this? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they go a step farther? Why didn't they take him out? And I go through all those questions, and it eats at my stomach. After it was over, and I don't like to talk about it because I don't like, poor me, he's dead, I'm still here, but I had stomach issues. I felt like I was going to throw up all the time, to the point I actually went to the doctor, and I said, what's going on? And she just explained to me stress, does stuff to your body, releases chemicals. It was messing up my stomach lining. I had to take some medicine. Mm-hmm. But I think about it every day, all the time. I'll never forget him. And I wish there was a way to bring him back, or I'd wake up and it would just be a horrible nightmare that would end.
And for those who are not familiar with the entire story, you did try and report the abuse.
Yeah, I reported numerous times, and I, would get upset and ask her, why, what does the mom say? Why, what's her excuse? There's no excuse you could give. And she would just tell me, I can't tell you that. But I was getting upset. Why, what's happening? Why is nothing happening? What lies could she possibly tell you? And she would just say, I'm going to have a visit. I'm going to go over there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can you go through,
Camera?
yeah. When you found that note, in Gabriel's Gabriel's desk, what went through your mind?
Like, well, before I found the note, I had the card, his Mother's Day card. I had to throw it away. I had to take it off his desk and throw it away. So between that and then looking in his journal, which I didn't mention when I testified, but the other thing I found in that journal was, like, each letter, if he asked me how do you spell tree? I go to letter T, right, tree, here you go, so they could refer back. And he asked me once how to spell BB gun. And so on letter B in that journal, it says BB gun also. And I didn't know. I assumed, I don't remember if that was before or after he had told me about the BB gun, injuries he had. I think it was around Christmas. I assumed he wanted a BB gun for Christmas. So then later, when everything came out, that's shocking. And then when I scrolled through his book and I saw that, and we didn't write that together. That's something he thought of, that he wanted to say, that he wrote down in that. It was sad that's, after he's dead, that's something that he left behind.
What did it say? Can you recall?
It said something to the effect of, Mom, Gabriel is a good boy. Which just shows you, he was still trying to convince her that he wasn't bad, that he was good.
About the BB gun, though?
The BB gun, I don't know. I really
just wanted to know how to spell it.
And I think it was for Christmas. We wrote down, like, what do you want for Christmas? So they would ask, how do you spell this? How do you spell that? And I think that was something that he was putting on his paper for what he wanted for Christmas.
Okay.
Now, I was able to sit with you during class. I'm going to ask a question now. I was able to sit with you during some of the court and the evidence that was shown in some of the pictures. How has that affected you in regards to seeing evidence that maybe you hadn't seen before, and how you feel about the extent of what you now know happened?
On one hand, you want to say you wish you didn't see it, but there's nothing I don't want to see, because I know, like, in my heart, he had to go through it, he had to live it, he had to endure that. The least I could do is look at it and acknowledge he went through that, and I know he would want that, people to know, like, that he had to go through that and endure that, but it's that those pictures were hard to see.
Right.
There were individual students who came up to you after that. Can you tell us about your conversations with them?
Like I remember one of the students, he would come up several times because he sat next to the empty seat where Gabriel used to sit. He was his partner. And he would just say, I miss Gabriel. And I would say, I do too, and I'd hug him and stuff. And then, we would, try to carry on with our day.
What kind of kid was Gabriel? Because, they kind of made us believe that he was a troublemaker or, very intense kid.
Yes, and it's hard because I don't like to talk about that part because I feel bad for him, because I know that in a different situation, if he was not enduring those things he was enduring, he would have been a much different kid. And they wouldn't let me say that. I don't think I was allowed to go there in court. But he was a helper. I think he could have been a teacher. The way he sat and would talk to the other student at the back table, oh, you got to say this. Remember, Ace says, he's trying to... Other kids are like, bye. They leave the table. He sat there. He stayed in. He stapled papers. Like, what other 6, 7, 8 would want to stay, and staple papers? Those kids are the ones saying, when I grow up, I want to be a teacher. So I feel like he was hard. He was angry. But I knew why. I knew why he had those outbursts. I knew why he wasn't getting along socially with the other kids. So he was tough, and it was hard at times because who am I going to tell?
I know.
Tell his mom. I would talk to him, and I would give him pep talks like, don't make them angry. Like, do what they say. Just do what they say, because I felt like maybe something he was doing was the reason that he was getting, hurt. Mm-hmm. So I was telling him, just do whatever they ask you to do. And then I even remember one time telling him, don't worry, like, when you're 18, you're going to move out. He was 8.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what else to tell him. I didn't know how to comfort him. I couldn't tell him, don't worry, it's going to be over. I didn't know. I couldn't say that. I couldn't break down and cry. Because it's like, when a kid falls and you cry, they cry too. So you're like, oh, you're fine. Brush it off. Mm-hmm. I kind of felt like that. But, that's horrible to say. But I didn't want to cry and go, oh, my God, you got shot with a BB gun? Like, that's not normal. Because I felt like, how is he going to go home and live with that, knowing, like, this is not normal. I was just trying to make it so he could get through the day and, be able to keep living his life and maybe have hope that one day he would get out of that situation.
What's the first injury that troubled you? The first thing that you saw
Well, when
that
he
said,
told-
this is really different?
When he told me the belt buckle, I didn't see anything, but I knew that wasn't okay. But I had gotten hit with the belt, so I didn't. It was bad. I mean, you don't bleed, you don't hit with the metal part. But when he came with the BB gun, with his face all swollen, like so swollen around his eyes, that was when I was and he lied. That was different, and I'd never seen. I mean,
You knew he lied.
I knew he lied. I mean, you don't fall off your bike or with your brother and have circle dot bruises all over your face. It's just not. I mean, I knew he was lying. And then when I called him out on it and I said, why are you lying? You never lied to me before. And then he got really mad because it took me a while to get it out of him. And then he said, well, because my mom shot me in the face with a BB gun. And that's when I just whoa.
And then what did you do after that? You reported again?
Oh, yeah, that day after school, I called and
You called?
I called Stephanie Rodriguez, the social worker. But at that point, when he lied to me and he told me I'm getting her worse, when you call that lady, that's what he would refer to. I never told him I'm calling. He was smart. He put two and two together. I told you something in class. The next day, this lady comes. And so at one point, he would ask me, can you call that lady? And I would say, do you have something to tell me? Is there anything you need me to, you want to tell me? And he would say, no. And I said, well, I can't call for no reason. I mean, do you have something you need to talk to her about? And he would say no. And then when that changed from that to when you tell that lady, when that lady comes out, I get hit worse. I get beat worse. I had turmoil that day, and I had to really think, what's best for him? What's gonna help him? And that was hard. Doing nothing or calling the cops. I was scared if I called the cops are gonna go, this is a social worker case. It's open. If they couldn't tell me we are taking him, how could I go back and go, never mind, forget I even called, I didn't know what to do. I just wanted him safe. I didn't want to come in the next day and go, oh, by the way, your student was murdered last night, and me think I did it, my call did it, and he told you, don't call, he told you it was gonna do it. That runs through my mind.
You
And
frustrated?
so, very frustrated. And so I called her and I told her, he lied, he's scared, he gets hurt worse when you come out. And she told me, I have a regularly scheduled visit, so it won't be related to what you said. I was already going out there and I could hear the road noise like she was in the car, and I kind of felt like, oh, okay. I thought that was good. I mean, it's not suspicious in any way, but it did nothing.
I have a question. Now that, being an educator, working with children, now that you know everything that you know, is there a message you want to send out to other educators and maybe just the world in general as to what you think are the best tactics for dealing with something like, suspected child abuse?
Well, for one, like in the school personally where I worked, when you talk about reporting, it's very hush-hush. It's like literally I'll be talking like, yeah, you had this and I was thinking this, and they're like, shh. I remember being like, why? The mom's not standing there. We all are on the same team here. No one's gonna go tell her. No one's friends with her. Why do we have to be quiet? There's veteran teachers that have been teaching a long time. There's a coworker, her husband's a cop. So, I mean, you never know. Who knows somebody? Let me see if I can call this person. Let me ask this person, let me do this. So I feel like don't worry about talking about it. I mean, of course, you're not going to go in the office where parents can come through and then tell, you go in a teacher's classroom and you say, let's meet, let's have a meeting. I don't see any reason why. I tell of course, all the teachers know what I went through. We talk about it and I tell them, if you want me to sit with you, if you want me to call with you, if you want me to text the district lawyer, if you want me to text John and Tommy, if you want me to ask a question to somebody, let me know. I'm here for you. I'll work together with you if you need help. And I feel like that's what we have to do. We need to work together, not isolate and make somebody feel guilty and, like they're doing something wrong or shh. I feel like we need to help each other. And I feel like also as a community, if I hear screaming next door and I'm like, oh, it's probably just, I'm going to call. I would call. if I'm like, that doesn't look right. You know, I was at a store the other day. I saw a kid with a bruise and the mom's wearing sunglasses. You better believe I was up in their business looking, are you okay? You know, we have to speak up for people, you know, like especially kids. They don't have the voice or they don't know that's not normal.
Do you think you're taking more seriously now?
I've always taken it,
You are taken more seriously.
Oh, then I'm taken more seriously.
Yes.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, everybody's telling me, you know, I talk to the detectives and I talk to the, you know, the district attorney and stuff, and they're telling me things are taken more seriously. I feel like there's no way that, as far as in my school district, they would not take things more seriously and maybe go some extra steps to see what we can do because of what happened. I think for sure. I know there's been changes.
What about
for the
people who
public-
don't have a Jennifer Garcia
Exactly.
in their lives?
Yeah.
What do you have for them? Like, what if they don't have somebody who's as
Any-
knowledgeable as you?
Any member of the public who might notice something.
And I think it's hard too because like I know his name, his address, his phone. You know what I mean? I have his file, but I feel like if you have a random person walking on the street, you don't know their name, you don't know. You know what I mean? I just feel like call the sheriff's department. Don't call 911. Apparently, I don't know how that would work, but at least they could guide you if you said, you know, I don't know what to do. You know, I would call and I would ask. You know, I see this kid or, you know, my neighbor is having this. I just feel like call, and if it continues and you feel like nothing's happening, I feel like you got to keep calling and you got to go higher and you got to do more. But it's hard because every situation is different. You just don't know the background story of, you know, I understand you don't want to make it worse either, you know, but I literally, if I see a pothole and I'm driving on the freeway, I used to go, oh, big deal, whatever, you know, swerve around it. Now I go, I can't assume like that driver called or somebody will probably call. I just call. I've called so many times. I saw a little flame or something that could have turned into a fire, and normally I would just assume, oh, somebody probably reported it already. I don't do that anymore. I just call, hey, I see a fire. They're like, okay, 11 people already called. And I say, okay, just making sure. You know, I used to be scared to call 911. Like it was, that's scary. And now I just think if you have to call, you call them. Let them guide you what you should do next. Should I call the non-emergency sheriff's department? Should I, you know? And they've always taken it seriously, even something small. They've never said that's not an emergency. So I would just say speak up.
Now, you've seen a lot of the evidence and pictures and whatnot. What is your memory going to be of Gabriel from here on out?
I mean, of course, those images and those pictures are ingrained, you know, in my brain. But I choose to remember the good side, the helper side, you know, the potential he had. You know, I remember him writing, copying from, you know, books and stuff, and I just try to remember and think about what he could have become. You know, and I want people to know. I don't want you to remember just those images of his body, because that's you know, that's not what he was.
All right. Well, thank you
Thanks
so
a lot,
much.
Thank you.
Jennifer. Thank you for standing up and speaking out and being so strong. You know, when you signed up to be a teacher, I don't think you could have imagined the depths of responsibility you'd be shouldering with one child. And we know there are many other children out there who are being abused, and their parents probably have been abused themselves. It's a huge burden, and people need to know and understand that this is what teachers are having to deal with.
Oh yeah, and it did open my eyes, like as far as DCFS. I mean, I had no experience with that, but I have a lot of foster kids in my class now, and I've tried to go a little bit more in depth with those kids and try to, you know, help them as much as I can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
What is
you.
your name and last name, please?
Jennifer Garcia.
My name is Jose Munoz from Channel 62. Well, can I ask you just a couple of questions about did you face the judge today? You were in front of the judge?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
I did a victim impact statement.
can you tell us anything about that statement? Anything you want to add?
No, really, just how it affected my life. You know, the death of Gabriel. You know, I think about it all the time. I have a lot of guilt, and I ask myself, what could I have done differently that maybe could have resulted in a different outcome?
You did all that you could, basically. I mean,
I think no one could say they did all they could. I'm not a hero, because if I was a hero, he would be alive. So I don't want that label in any way, because that makes me feel worse.
there's many little Gabriels around
Yeah.
the city, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, after his case, it opened my eyes to the child abuse problem, and it's sickening, really, what happens to kids.
That's right. Anything you want to add about this?
No, I hope there's never another Gabriel case like that. I hope that in the future we can put some more things in place so we can protect kids and make sure that they're, taken care of.
Thank you very much. Name and last name, please, and your title.
Jennifer Garcia, teacher
You're the teacher of Gabriel.
of Gabriel Fernandez.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
No.
Nice to meet